Hey friends, what is up? My name is Julie and welcome back to my farm. We're nearing the end of October here in North Carolina, and so we're entering our fall season. And that means a lot of things are changing around here. So I thought today we could walk around and I'll give you a quick update on everything that's going on here. All right, first we'll walk over and visit the goats. Typically these guys would be all over me when I'm in their area, but we just moved them in here a few hours ago and they have pretty much munched down as much green as they could find, so they're all feeling a little bit lazy right now. Hi, sweetie. Say hi, Cinnamon. Hi, Cinnamon. Good girl. Hey, Gwen, I know you want to come over and say hi. You always say hi. Say hi, YouTube people. My good girl. Yeah. One of the challenges this time of year is that it becomes colder and drier. And that means that a lot of the vegetation stops growing, or slows down at least. So we are still able to rotationally graze both our sheep and our goats. This late into the year, the vegetation available for the goats is getting a little bit sparse. And if I'm being honest, I really have too many goats. When we first acquired this property, there was a whole lot more brush and thickly wooded areas that they were able to plow through, and now they've basically put themselves out of a job. So while there's still plenty of forage for a small herd of goats, I'm up to about 45 in this group. So the increased number of animals combined with all the work that they've done to clear out some of what would have been their food means that I really am carrying too many goats for the land that I have. So we will be trying to sell a few. That's always hard for me. I really hate getting rid of animals. I'm always worried about what's gonna happen to them when they leave, but I have to do what's best for the herd as a whole. So that's gonna mean selling off some babies from last year. And then we have new babies coming in January and February. Hi, Brock. Hi, Brock. Big boy. Big boy. I know, Gwen. Okay, I'll pet you. I'll pet you. Okay. And the good news is that it does look like all 11 of the does that I selected to breed this year are pregnant. We have this little guy, his name's Dante, and he's actually castrated, but as you can see, he likes to act like a buck. I think in the absence of an actual intact male in this group, he's kind of taken over the role. And he's been letting me know if anybody is in heat, like this young doeling. This is Destiny, and I did not breed her this year. I'd like her to get a little bit bigger first, but he is letting me know that she is in heat. And so I've really been watching his behavior around the does that I do want pregnant, and I haven't seen him pay them much attention. So I'm pretty confident at this point, I think we're about 6 weeks post-breeding, that most of them are pregnant. Because typically female goats this time of year will cycle or come into heat about every 21 days. So they should have cycled twice, and I haven't seen them cycle at all, so that's a really good sign. I'm also seeing what I think might be the beginning of some baby bumps. You're gonna see the top line of Gwen here. She's pretty wide on both sides. Anyway, it might be wishful thinking, but yeah, I think that we're already starting to see some little baby bumps on these girls. So I'm excited for new babies, especially excited about the dappled boar buck that we were able to borrow this year, and looking forward to seeing what his offspring look like. So you can see we are starting to have to feed hay, especially on these cold nights. Goats really want to fill their bellies up, fill up their rumens as a means of staying warm. So when I know that there's not enough forage for them, I really want to make sure that they have enough roughage in the form of hay. This is not the best quality hay, and it's certainly not nutritionally complete for them. So I'm also feeding them some alfalfa pellets. We started slowly incorporating that into their diet every day. And then I'm continuing to feed them the spent brewer's grain that you've seen in past videos. Everybody's looking like they got big full bellies lately, so I'm pretty happy with the condition of all my goats. So we're just gonna continue moving them. We're moving them a little bit slower than we would be if we were actually depending on this forage to feed them. In that case, I would be moving them probably every day if I was trying to feed them solely on my vegetation. But because I know that's not really possible, we're basically parking them for about 5 days or however long it takes them to eat down these round bales, and then I'm moving them on. And goats like to make a big mess of their hay. I mean, that's just the nature of goats. They really like to climb on stuff. They like to bed in it. I don't have this round bale caged at all or in any kind of bale feeder. That would help tremendously with this waste. But what we do is come through at least once a day and pick up a lot of this waste hay, as long as it's clean. And we put it in this hay feeder over here to get it up off the ground. We'll also spread it out and pile it up in different areas, because some of my more dominant goats can sometimes scare away the smaller, more submissive goats and not let them eat as often as I would like. So by having multiple piles of the hay around, it's more available to everybody. Hi, Cora. Hi, my sweet girl. Yes, my sweet girl. This is Cora, and she is one of my main milkers. And she is one of the girls that I bred again this year. So because they are pregnant again, I am going to need to stop milking them so they can put all their energy and calories into growing new babies and then producing new milk and colostrum for those babies when it becomes time to give birth. I am still gonna get a little bit of milk every day because there is one doe, one of my Oberhasleys named Helga, that I decided to milk through this year. So that means that I'm not gonna rebreed her, and I'm just gonna continue milking her. And I've heard of people milking their does through for several years without having to rebreed them. And she's a big producer, so I think that system's gonna work really well for us. If nothing else, it's an experiment. It's something that I've never tried before. And I really don't wanna rebreed her because she has what's known as a blown teat. And that blown teat has not precluded her from raising her babies just fine. I just kind of felt like with the abundance of goats that I have, I just needed to be a little bit more selective about who I breed this coming year. So she just didn't quite make the cut. Hi, Elton John. This guy's name is Elton John. He's got this crazy ear. This is Sabrina's son from this year, and he is almost ready to go to the processor. We're actually sending 4 of these goats, I think, to the processor in November. We're also gonna send 6 lambs along with them. And that'll be our last harvest of those for the year. What's up, Elvis? Junior Cud? Good boy. What are you doing? Are you biting my butt? Are you biting my butt? You're so cute. You are so cute, buddy. Hi, Heidi. You're so pretty. You're so pretty. Hey, Hildy. Oh, here comes Sabrina. Yeah, I know you had to come over. Yeah. If you guys don't know, this is Sabrina, and she's our herd queen. She's a mini Nubian and one of my best milkers, and one of our oldest goats. Yeah, you're still young though. She's only 5, so she's really in her prime. Yeah. Yeah, she's such a good girl. Such a pretty girl. We love Sabrina, don't we? She has a glorious beard. Yes, she does. Yeah, so beautiful. Typically, when it gets to this point in the season when the grasses aren't really growing and we have to switch to feeding hay, we would move the goats and the sheep into their winter barn and sacrifice areas for 3 to 4 months. And the main reason we do that is because sometimes we have some wet, stormy weather in the winter, and wet and cold is a deadly combination for animals. I mean, goats hate to be wet normally, but when it's cold out, they lose so much heat through their wet fur, it becomes a dangerous situation. And that's definitely a recipe for some pneumonia popping up in your herd, and we definitely don't want that. We want to make sure all these goats are warm and that they're not shivering and wasting calories on that they're bulking up or making new babies. So it's just smart to offer them some good steady shelter during that time of year. But right now it's still fairly warm. We're getting into the mid 70s during the day, and it's been really dry, which is not great for anything growing, but it is good for animals to be outside while they can. So we're gonna keep them out and moving as long as we can this year. And you'll see when we go to the sheep, we've actually got quite a bit of forage left for them that we've kind of saved for them for this time of year. And so we're gonna try and keep them actually out in the pasture as long as we can.
Hey, Mama. He's a good girl. You having a good day? Yeah? Yeah? He's a good girl.
Junie, get out of there.
Cleaning out the goat barn today.
So this is the other reason we have decided not to move the goats into their winter barn yet. We haven't cleaned out their bedding pack from last year, and you can see it is pretty thick. I don't even know, what is it, like 20 round bales worth of waste hay from last year, and 40 goats worth of poop. So Daryl's going at that today with the tractor. And then we don't have a manure spreader that would spread it out real nicely, but he's using the tractor as best he can to kind of put it around what we call their sacrifice area. It's the area that we put the animals in long term in the winter. And that means that they beat it down quite a bit, and it could use some covering. You can see we've got some bare spots on the ground. And if you go through and cover that with this composting manure, that's gonna help it heal and regrow in the future. Also, by spreading it out, obviously that will help it dry out and actually break down all the way. What you see there is way too dense and wet for that to happen. Junie, get out of there. It's gross. Junie, what are you doing? What are you looking for? I don't know what tastes so good or smells so good. This is very interesting. Junie, you're gross. What are you doing, Bubba? I'm waiting for my fig tree to go sufficiently dormant so I can take some cuttings from it. I'd really like to have more of these on the property, and pretty much all my friends that I've offered them to would love to have some saplings as well. And I'm thinking that this tree looks like it has a bunch of suckers or offshoots growing out of it. It even has more than the last time I looked at it. There's some new growth you can see. What I want to do is just take these and try to root them in pots, but I really don't have a whole lot of experience with doing that. So if any of you know about taking fig cuttings or have a good resource for learning how to do that, I would really love if you would put that in the comments for me. Any advice would be much appreciated. Man, I sure do love our figs. Another big change around here is that we have gotten rid of most of our chickens. This is the sad remains of our mobile chicken coop. And while it is in utter shambles now, it really served us well for at least 5 years. This thing was a beast. It got towed all over this property several times, housed hundreds of chickens over the years, and really did its job well. But as you might imagine, it has taken a beating, whether it's weather or rough ground or my dogs or other predators trying to break into it. Mostly weather, though, is what has done it in. And the fact that it is built on a PVC frame, which, you know, plastic doesn't last forever. We went with the PVC to make it lightweight, and this was definitely a good prototype for this type of lightweight hoop coop. But we've already improved on it in later models, and we've got some big plans for the next one. So we're not done with chickens completely. I did hold back 10 of my favorites so that we still have some eggs for us and for friends and family. But for the time being, we're not gonna have a whole lot of eggs to sell, which sucks because that's really been one of our signature products on this farm and what got us started. Eggs are a great way to start because it means constant cash flow because you're collecting saleable product every day. But just to kind of share a little bit of the thinking behind this, we were really hoping to upgrade to a bigger property the last few years. And because of a whole series of things that I won't bore you with, that really hasn't come to fruition. But in anticipation of a possible big farm move, we were really downsizing a lot of our animals. We had 3 of these chicken coops running at one time. We got to, I think, about a total of 250 chickens at one point. And I've slowly been selling them off over the last 2 years and not replacing them. And that's the biggest thing. So these were some of my original oldest girls that I hung on to a little bit too long, and it was really time to get rid of them because I was feeding them quite a bit of expensive food for not many eggs. And when you're running a business, that really doesn't make any sense. But we have plans to renovate one of our other coops. We're actually gonna make a whole video about that process. So you'll get to see kind of our thinking with this design and how it's evolved to our brand new design. And then I'm really looking forward to getting to raise a whole new batch of chickens. I'm actually having a really hard time deciding what breeds I want to go with. I have some tried and true favorites that I definitely would like to stick with, but I also see this as an opportunity to kind of try something new. And then as far as other meat birds for our market sales, I'm looking at getting some more in December, maybe right after Christmas, so that we're ready to go with fresh chicken in the spring, when the farmers markets really ramp back up again.
Good girl. Good girl.
This is the temporary housing for my little mini flock. This is actually one of our meat chicken tractors that we finish our Cornish cross broiler chickens in. And unfortunately it doesn't have any roofs, but it works for now for just a few girls. And the rooster, of course. Gotta have a rooster. What do you think, Maple? Our Muscovy ducks love to chill under the UTV on a warm day. They're doing pretty good. We didn't have a great egg laying or hatch rate this year, new ducklings. But this flock's getting a little old and we really have too many drakes for the number of females we have. So we're probably gonna go ahead and harvest most of the drakes, all but one, and maybe try to find some other Muscoving ducklings in the area that we can add to our flock.
Keeping an eye on everything, Maple.
Yeah, I love them. Nice sister. Hey, Judy.
You like that pile of hay? You're so handsome laying there. Yeah.
You're my boy.
Yeah.
That's my baby boy.
Hey, big pigs. Hi, Sassy. You're getting big, girl. Looking good. It's okay. Hey, big girl. Hey, did I wake you up from your nap?
So just like the chickens, we have drastically cut back on the number of pigs that we have at this farm right now. We're down to just 4 pigs, which is the fewest that we've had, I think, since the very beginning where we got our first set of pigs. And we're doing this for a couple of reasons. We are phasing out of raising the American guinea hogs. Now, I love this breed for a lot of reasons. They're super docile, as you can see. I'm turning my back to full-grown pigs and they're not attacking me, they're not rushing me. I've definitely had commercial pigs and heritage breed pigs, and when they get to this size, they like to boss you around, especially near a feeder if they think that you're gonna feed them. And these pigs are just super chill. So I love the personality. I also like that they are not terribly hard on the land. They root just like any other pig, but in my experience, they really don't go as deep or dig as many holes as other breeds. But for somebody producing pork for the public, they have a shorter loin, so I don't get as many pork chops. They're also smaller, so my cuts are not as big and meaty. And they are considered a lard pig, so you tend to get a lot of subcutaneous fat, and that doesn't have a whole lot of market value. You can see they also kind of have shorter bellies, and those really have not made for good bacon, and that is, as you might imagine, one of our most popular products. So the last couple years we have bred these pigs, and they have been great mothers, and they have raised their babies in the woods primarily by themselves, and they've done a great job. I can't say enough good things about the American guinea hog. I think they're a great choice for a homestead breed, but as a producer for market, I need something a little bit larger, a little bit faster growing, and a little bit leaner. I'm thinking we're probably gonna go back to the Hereford. That's really what we raised here for years. It's a heritage breed. I love that breed. The only reason we stopped raising them is because our breeder went out of business. She wasn't making enough money selling piglets, unfortunately. But I am on the lookout for some really good Hereford stock. Did you realize I didn't bring food? So you're just gonna go back to bed? Yeah, you're a good girl. You're good, mamas. As I mentioned, we were also anticipating moving to a new property, and I really didn't want to move with a bunch of pigs. I'd rather phase out the pigs we have and then get new ones at the new property once we're set up. I don't want to move with a ton of livestock that I have to instantly have infrastructure and care for, especially when we're first trying to get settled into a new place.
You like it in the woods? What you doing, Sassy? Are you playing peekaboo? Hi, Sassy.
I call her Sassy because she doesn't like to respect fences. But when she gets out, she really doesn't cause any trouble, so it's just kind of cute. Yeah, she's a good girl. She also holds her own with these big pigs just fine. She was bossing around some older pigs when this group was a little bit larger. Yeah, she's a sassy girl. Another sort of secondary reason that we've cut back on pigs this year a little bit is the rising price of grain. It's become really expensive to feed these guys, and we feed a non-GMO, soy-free, custom-milled diet, and it's expensive. It's more expensive than what you're seeing in the feed store, and those prices are going up every time I order, it's higher. We offset some of that cost with feeding them spent brewer's grain and kitchen scraps and excess dairy, but they really need that formulated pig feed with all the vitamins and minerals in the appropriate ratios. And while I'm not really hopeful that prices are gonna come down, I need to just be getting more as far as a saleable meat product out of the pigs if I'm gonna be spending that money. We did have a couple of trees come down when Hurricane Ian passed through a couple of weeks ago. Really at the tops of some of these old trees snapped right off and fell in the driveway and on top of some of our tractor implements, but Daryl was able to dig them out and there's no damage, luckily. Now we just need to have a big bonfire sometime. How you doing, guys? And then last but certainly not least, we have the sheep. Now, I don't want to brag, but I am super impressed with how this flock is progressing and doing. I feel sheep rich when I look at them. I really take a lot of pride and joy in this flock and just watching them and how healthy they are and the quality of the ewes that I've retained and how well the lambs are doing this year. It just makes me really happy to see such healthy animals out here. And it makes me really happy that we have enough grass to still be grazing this late into the fall. Last year, we actually had to take the sheep off the pasture for a month. And then we had a little bit of wet weather, so we were able to put them back on for the month of November. And then they had to come off again in December. And this year, I think we're gonna be able to graze through all of fall. And then we're expecting most of our lambs in December, so they'll go into the barn and the sacrifice area at that time, just so I can get the moms and the new babies into lambing stalls when they give birth and that they have shelter, and so that their hay is sheltered from the weather as well. But we've been very lucky. We have a wonderful, nice neighbor that has loaned us about 6 acres of grazing. And we actually skipped all of this land in our last rotation. As you may know, we rotationally graze these guys. We're moving them just about every day to fresh grass, and that is how we feed them. So on this last rotation, we actually skipped all of my neighbor's land. And so we're going through it now. And I'm really happy that we did. There's quite a bit of dense vegetation for these guys right now, and things are still pretty green. I'm really hoping we get at least one more growth spurt on this land, on this grass, before it goes dormant for the winter. And that really depends on how much rainfall we get. And of course, I had no control over that. We don't have any kind of irrigation system, so I can't bring water to the land. I'm really dependent on rainfall, and it does get pretty dry this time of year. But as you develop pasture and you build a better root system and you build dense forage where you have good ground cover on your land, that the animals are able to trample part of the grass and sort of mulch the land, you have better water retention. I also have deep roots on these grasses now that can access water deeper in the soil. With all those factors, I'm hoping that it won't take a whole lot to get another flush out of this grass, but that's the kind of thing that grazers think about all the time. The more that I can graze them on grass, that's free food, the less hay that I have to buy in the winter. And I am anticipating possibly a shortage of hay, and I'm already seeing the price of hay going up quite a bit. So we really want to limit how much that we have to feed. But right now, things are looking great. Also, I'm finally getting to the point where I can be more and more selective of this ewes. In the beginning, I was really just trying to build out numbers and keep kind of anybody that seemed like decent breeding stock for future generations. And lately, really this past year, I've made a lot of hard for me decisions to sell some lambs. And I cut back a couple really nice ram lambs and sold them as future breeding stock. And I hope to do that again in the future and be able to share the wealth of my beautiful sheep with some other grazers out there. Yeah, hopefully we'll have some nice lambs to offer in the spring. Hi, Delilah. And it's my herd boss, Delilah. She's my favorite animal on the farm, other than the dogs. But that's my girl. I love that sheep to death. Girl's getting old. It's probably her last breeding season, unfortunately. And then I want to figure out some kind of retirement situation for her and for her sister Daphne here. These girls are both just getting too old to breed, and I'm probably actually going to pull their babies and raise them as bottle babies this year just to be safe. Take some pressure off of these ladies. but they have just been fantastic breeders. So yeah, you're such a good girl. And I hope they're a part of the herd for many years to come. Because I'm anticipating hay prices to be a little bit higher this year and potentially even a shortage of hay available, we did go ahead and seed our front pasture with a mix of winter grasses, mainly annual rye, 2 types of clover, and a brassica, rapeseed brassica. We use a seed that's designed for a no-till system, so hopefully just broadcasting it onto the soil before a good rain is enough to have it sprout. We've used this seed in the past and it's done really well. It's a fairly inexpensive measure for us to take, and really if it extends our grazing at all, it's worth it to us. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for this video, guys. Just wanted to give you a quick tour and kind of let you know what fall looks like on the farm and the changes that we are making and preparing for as we head into winter. Is fall a season of change on your farm? What does it look like when you're at? I would love to start up a conversation in the comments. Juniper and I are gonna say goodbye for now. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.